Mr. Donby. Mr. Donby.
Question 14, sir.
Mr. Speaker, may I have your permission to answer question number 14 to 22 on today's order paper together?
Please do.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Speaker, my response will also cover the matters raised in the questions by Mr. Gan Tiam Poh and Mr. Gerald Giam, which are scheduled for a subsequent sitting. I invite members to ask clarifications if need be, and if the questions have been addressed, it may not be necessary to proceed with these questions at future sittings. Sir, HDB flats are primarily meant for owner occupation. Owners are required to physically occupy their flat during the minimum occupation period, or MOP, before they are allowed to sell their flat on the open market or rent out the whole flat. During the MOP, owners are not allowed to leave the flat vacant or rent out the whole flat without staying in it. This also means that owners are not allowed to rent out their whole flat under the guise of renting out only the bedrooms, for instance, by locking up one room and not actually living in it. To be clear, this also applies to executive condominiums or ECs. All buyers of HDB flats are required to acknowledge HDB's rules and regulations, including those relating to the MOP, at various points of their flat purchase process. Furthermore, the relevant rules and regulations are readily available on HDB InfoWeb. Flat owners would therefore know that they are not allowed to leave their flat vacant or rent out the whole flat without staying in it during the minimum occupation period. The MOP policy safeguards HDB's flats for households with genuine housing needs. It also helps, in part, to deter the speculative purchase of HDB flats, to keep HDB flats affordable. Nevertheless, we recognize that flat owners' circumstances may change over time. Some may aspire to own a bigger flat or private residential property as their financial situation improves or as their family sizes grow, while others may wish to right-size or move closer to their parents or children for mutual care and support. In short, life stages change. The current 5-year MOP seeks to strike a balance, on the one hand reinforcing the objective of owner occupation, while on the other hand not unduly hampering those who want to move when their family circumstances or life needs change. Flat owners who face genuine circumstances and cannot stay in their flat during the MOP, such as those who may be posted overseas for work for a period, should write into HDB to seek waiver of the MOP rule. HDB will assess such appeals on a case-by-case basis. Where appropriate, we've made the MOP duration longer to strengthen the owner-occupation intent of public housing. For instance, the MOP for flats launched under the Prime Location Public Housing or PLH model is set at 10 years. And rental flat tenants who get additional support under the Fresh Start Housing Grant to buy a new flat have to meet a 20-year MOP. During our housing conversations, held under the auspices of Forward Singapore, we've received a whole range of suggestions to strengthen the owner-occupation intent of public housing. For instance, some suggested increasing the MOP for all flat types, while others responded to say that actually 5 years is just about right, given how life stages change. Other participants suggested carving out popular BTO projects, such as those in well-sought-after locations or in areas with very favorable attributes, such as close proximity to amenities, and imposing tighter HDB ownership conditions, such as longer MOP, to further deter speculative intent. And yet there are other participants who suggested tiered MOPs. For applicants at the same income level, those who accept longer MOPs get more subsidies, and those with shorter MOP get much lesser subsidy and pay for BTO flats closer to market price. Now, these are just a sampling of the ideas given. We are studying the very many views carefully and will continue to review our housing policies to meet the needs of Singaporeans. Owners who are unable to fulfill their MOP due to changes in their circumstances will need to return their flat to HDB. Between January 2017 and December 2022, a total of 258 BTO flats and 168 resale flats have been returned to HDB, mostly due to changes in owner circumstances within the MOP, which rendered them ineligible to own an HDB flat. Circumstances include divorce or separation, demise of an owner, medical reasons, and so on. As these owners have not fulfilled MOP, they were not allowed to sell their flats on the open market. But of course, appeals can be made and cases will be looked at case by case. HDB detects potential infringements of HDB rules and regulations through a range of methods, including regular inspection of HDB units, feedback from members of the public and property agents, as well as the use of data analytics and other tools. Members of this House have also given a whole list of suggestions, and I thank them for them. Some of these involve confidential investigative methods, and I shall not go into details. Sir, in detecting and investigating infringements, HDB tries to strike a balance. On the one hand, we want to ensure that HDB rules are complied with by detecting and deterring errant owners who infringe these rules, on the one hand. On the other hand, we do not want to overly impinge upon the privacy of the 1.1 million HDB homeowners, the vast majority of whom abide by the rules. On regular inspections, HDB conducts 500 inspections randomly each month to detect infringements of HDB rules and regulations, such as unauthorized renting out or subletting and non-occupation of flat. Since 2017, HDB has inspected some 35,000 homes to conduct random checks. HDB also investigates feedback received from members of the public and property agents on suspected cases of HDB rule infringements, such as flats being listed for resale in bare or so-called brand new condition. Between 2017 and 2022, HDB received around 4,700 pieces of feedback on potential infringements relating to HDB's MOP rules. In addition, as part of the HDB resale process, HDB also conducts inspection of all HDB flats involved in the resale transactions. Flats that have been found to be in bare or brand new condition will be flagged for further checks. HDB receives information about suspected cases of infringement across all flat types, and one member asked, is there any particular flat type with a greater propensity? In fact, it's across all. Should any infringement be established, action will be taken and the resale transaction will not be allowed to proceed. HDB takes the violation of its rules and regulations seriously and will not hesitate to take enforcement action against errant owners. Depending on the severity of the infringement, HDB may issue a written warning, impose a financial penalty of up to $50,000, or compulsorily acquire the flat. From January 2017 to November 2022, HDB has taken action against 53 owners who have not occupied their flats. Of these 53, 21 have had their flats compulsorily acquired due to MOP infringement. Owners whose flats are compulsorily acquired by HDB in this manner will also face other consequences. For instance, they will be debarred from purchasing subsidized flats in the future or taking over such flats by way of change in ownership, among others. Property agents who perform estate agency work too have a role to play in helping to ensure that HDB's rules and regulations are not breached. Property agents are required to comply with the Estate Agents Act and its regulations, including the Code of Ethics and Professional Client Care. Under the code, property agents need to perform due diligence in the course of carrying out estate agency work to ensure that no law, including those that apply to HDB properties, have been infringed. If a property agent has reasonable cause to suspect that HDB MOP rules have been infringed, he should inform his client of the potential consequences and stop marketing the client's property. The Council for Estate Agencies, or CEA, has taken disciplinary action against agents who have been found to have breached CEA's regulations in assisting such owners to sell or rent out their flats. Between 2017 and 2022, CEA investigated 51 cases involving 69 property agents who had assisted their clients to market HDB flats, which might not have met MOP rules. Investigations into 32 cases have been completed, and CEA took disciplinary action against 18 property agents who were found to have breached the code. 6 agents have had their registration suspended for between 7 and 48 weeks and received financial penalties ranging from $2,000 to $5,000 imposed by CEA's disciplinary committee. 2 property agents were issued letters of censure, one of whom was also imposed with a financial penalty of $1,000. The remaining 10 agents were issued with warning letters for their disciplinary breaches. The remaining 19 cases are still under investigation. HDB and CEA will continue to work closely to investigate cases involving HDB owners who sell or rent out their flats during MOP, and CEA will continue to review the adequacy of the actions taken against errant agents. We thank members who have provided suggestions on how to better detect and deter errant owners. We also recognize the concern by members of the public, sometimes anger, when they see such actions being taken by people around them, when they and many other HDB owners comply fully with the rules and are concerned about whether the playing field is level. They see public housing as first a home, while recognizing that people do have changes in life course and also do want to upgrade as their circumstances and financial situation improves, and have therefore been forthcoming in giving us information when they come across suspected breaches of rules. HDB will investigate such cases and continue to take firm action against infringement of HDB rules and regulations. Members of the public can continue to report cases to HDB via the toll-free hotline of 1-800-555-6370 or via email. Thank you.
Mr. Yip Hon Wing.
I thank the Minister for his response. Are the current penalties of $50,000 fines and written warnings sufficient to deter the sale of such vacant flats? Will the Ministry and HDB consider increasing penalties for such cases and consider even debarment for a longer period of time? Thank you.
I thank the member. Let us continue to review this. Currently, letter of warning, financial penalty of up to $50,000, and compulsory acquisition of the flat. Now, these are serious consequences. So in deciding whether to enhance them, increase them, let us consider the impact of these measures, the impact of greater awareness about these rules among Singaporeans at large, greater detection and reporting and action taken before we move further.
Mr. Zulkarnain Abdul Rahim.
Thank you. Thank you, Speaker. Minister, just to add on to Member Yip Hon Wing's suggestion on enforcement, I think, may I ask 2 SQs in respect of the breaches? There were 21 cases for which compulsory acquisition of the flats were meted out. May I ask what are the type of or the extent of the breaches egregious enough to warrant such compulsory acquisition? And second, I would echo Member Yip Hon Wing's suggestion, but I would suggest possibly to add on to the options available to HDB, whether the HDB would consider profit disgorgement, especially for owners or errant owners or agents who have profited from the flouting of such MOP breaches. Thank you.
Thank you. For compulsory acquisition, or for that matter, financial penalty, when we take action, These tend to be egregious cases. The buyers balloted for a home, it's subsidized, they got it ahead of everybody else, but they didn't live in their home, and there are no good reasons for doing so. We recognize that people have got a whole range of life circumstances, but for some of these cases where we take firm action, it is quite clear from the evidence, from the interviews, from the investigation, that they either had no intention to live in those homes or felt that actually, well, they could get away with it, live somewhere else, leave the place empty, and then when its MOP is up, sell it and gain the upside from it. As for the members' suggestions of profit disgorgement, financial penalty is also quite high. It does, to some extent, disgorge a lot of the profits, especially when it's illegal subletting, but I take the member's point as part of the broader review.
Mr. Donwy.
Thank you. What are the main reasons given by these owners who are caught not staying in these flats? And if this set of information is useful from preventing this group of potential infringers from applying flats that they do not need going forward? Thank you.
I don't have a breakdown of all the reasons that are given in the course of interview. What is established before we take action is that they've got a subsidized flat, they've got public housing, it's not occupied, it's not lived in by the people who bought those flats. And we look at the reasons they give, and where there's no good reason, we take firm action.
Associate Professor James Lim.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate that Minister Lee had a great many PQs to follow up, but I don't quite think that my specific ones were asked. Just to reiterate, it was about technological solutions, whether HDB explored some of this, in particular whether they would track utilities usage, or if they would request property sales sites to monitor and subsequently remove errant listing. And the general point is just whether there are automated mechanisms to flag some of these before subsequent investigation into potential violations are made.
Thank the member, and I thank him for his patience because it was a long reply. The response to his questions at paragraphs 9 and 20. In essence, we have said that HDB detects potential infringements of HDB rules and regulations through a wide range of methods, including regular inspections, random and otherwise, feedback from members of the public and property agents, as well as the use of data analytics and other tools. And because some of these involve confidential methods, we won't go into detail. At para 20, I did thank members for the whole range of ideas given. Some suggested looking at whether people change the NRIC after buying this home. Some suggested looking at utility meters. Some looked at whether you can look at season parking, look at renovation permits. There's a whole sort of proposals raised, and I've said that we adopt a whole range of measures, but we also want to strike a balance, make sure the rules are enforced through not just enforcement, but detection in the first place, and at the same time making sure we do not overly impinge upon the privacy of 1.1 million homeowners, the majority of whom actually play by the rules.
Mr. Saktiandi Supat.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask two SQs to Minister. First is in relation to his reply earlier about HDB working the Council for Estate Agencies. Given the numbers that he shared earlier, about 60+ errant cases being investigated, what are the follow-up steps that HDB is working with CA to follow up on the ecosystem? Because the data encompasses 5 years, which means that whether the trend has been increasing or falling, I'm not sure, but whether the ecosystem to enhance the ethics and codes of practices amongst the property agents can be further built on. Second question is in relation to my PQ. If I may have missed Minister's answer, but whether Minister can actually highlight whether the cases are detected as per my PQ in terms of breakdown, whether it's detected via periodic inspections, whistleblowing, or other methods, or whether it's by property agents actually whistleblowing as well. Thank you, Minister. Thanks.
I thank the member. On the second question, I address it straight away. It's a mix. Some cases are a result of whistleblowing, some a result of technological or data methods, some a result of random inspections. So it's really a mix of them. And sometimes more than one tool is deployed in order to zoom in. Because there are a lot of flats, lots of homes, 1.1 million flats owned and more than 50,000 rental flats. So it's a range and a combination. On the first question, the number of complaints against agents who are suspected of having assisted in a breach of such rules, including MOP rules, have increased over the last 2 years, from about 3 per year to about 20 per year. So we're concerned about this, and will continue to have HDB and CA work closely together to ensure that the understanding of the foundation of a lot of these rules relating to property and real estate are underscored by our sector.